Hello, and welcome to the Place of Wrath and Tears, a KULT Divinity Lost live action tabletop game. Almost said live action roleplay because I've got other exciting things on my mind, which I am not sorry for. Tonight is being recorded in front of the same live Undying Studio audience. However, Twitch chat, they only get water if you do the social media things. So if you'd like them to be fed, please like this video on YouTube in a couple of days when it comes up. They'll be okay, but not for another show, I think. So, as always, guys, Wrath and Tears is a very heavy game. We handle a lot of heavy topics. We use our safety mechanics. We just had a solid, like, 15, 20-minute theme and comfort level calibration. So, we have always prided ourselves on being a safe game in that we use the safety mechanics that let you tell a very heavy story while doing it safely. And we're going to do that again tonight. Sorry, not sorry. So, in addition to the usual boatload of content warnings, such as, drug use, every possible unhealthy version of a relationship ever created, rampant capitalism, patriarchy. Tonight's episode is also going to involve a higher than usual amount of sexual content. Some of the characters are going to be seduced or potentially seduced, and there is going to be some seduction by deception. So there is going to be an attempt to trick one of the Van Horsts into sleeping with someone that they're not particularly inclined to do so. You'll notice that we said seduction by deception because we have decided that that attempt is going to fail, because for it to succeed ventures into categories of story and play that we have chosen not to engage with because we don't think that they're fun or necessary. So there is going to be that. There are links for resources for player and game safety that can be found below, says the voice of the 11th Archon, Curtis, for whom we are always thankful. So yeah, we're going to get started here in a minute, but I think that's it. There might also be the use of the words orgy and slurry near each other again. Like, just that's it's Pornhub's Lobster Thermidor. It's
Not sorry. Sorry, not sorry.
no, it's fine. Yep. So let's take the time to remind ourselves where exactly the Van Horsts were, and then we'll meet each other one by one. So towards the last game was the Knighting of David. It was a wonderful, joyous, emotionally powerful time that immediately went sour as soon as the trumpet stopped playing and the ticker tape landed on the floor and the balloons started to deflate and the ice started to melt. It seemed like Clara was carrying around a lot of emotions about that. And she started making those emotions known, and it rapidly went south from there. Everybody had a nice, good argument. And however, in this case, rarely, deliciously for me, but rarely for the Van Horsts, they are all now separated. Their anger, their frustration, their wants have broken their links to each other, at least for a temporary time. And that is a perfect position for things to go very big wrong. So we are going to say goodbye to two of them now, and we are going to start with Matthew Van Horst. Matthew, are you drunk yet, or are you getting drunk? How hard did you go after this bar?
I mean, it depends how much time has passed. Like, there's only so many drinks he can pound in, but he's trying to do as many as he can at this point.
So you're putting in a good work day here at this entirely unacceptably low class bar that you wandered into off the Las Vegas Strip at something o'clock.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna just take this off because I'm not gonna go in my jacket.
Okay. So this looks like something that is trying to make itself a neighborhood bar. But the problem with a neighborhood bar is that you need a neighborhood, and Las Vegas isn't quite at the neighborhood stage of transmogrification. And so it has, much like the rest of the city, almost a interestingly simulated feeling to it, because someone has attempted to fake you out into thinking that there's 20 or 30 years of history and life in here. So there are some posters up. There's like a piece of goofy taxidermy. It's like a rabbit with little horns on it. But it is all too new, and it is all too consistent, because Matthew, you know age. You know the way wood changes color inconsistently through touch and polish. And you know the difference between 10 new coats of lacquer on a bar top and 100 coats of lacquer, one a year, on a bar top. And so, while if you see fit, you could choose to recognize their labor, they are not fooling you. But the alcohol is authentic, and it seems to be working. What is your get me drunk right now drink tonight, Matthew?
I think it's probably whiskey neat.
Whiskey neat. Are we going to flirt with this drunkenness? Are we going to have ourselves, 2 fingers a glass, or are we just simply going to pour ourselves a solid 6 ounces and lean into the efficiency?
He has some class left. Like, there's a level of like dignity that he needs to keep even when he's out to obviously just get himself drunk. So I would say it's definitely like a 2 finger sort of like situation, not like a give me the bottle situation.
Okay. So it's a just like this and keep them coming sort of a situation.
Yeah.
Now, this is not some impossibly aged whiskey from a small batch. These aren't those words. This is very much a working man's whiskey, and it tastes like a working man's whiskey. This tastes like good whiskey if no one has ever been taught what good whiskey tastes like.
I feel like it's the top shelf, but their top shelf is like this.
Yes.
And he's like, yeah, great.
Yeah. This is like their top shelf is like the Johnny Walker with the cool little cork on top, as opposed to just the normal one. Like it's. Oof. This is the kind of whiskey that people invent whiskey mixed drinks for.
Yeah, it's not what you drink neat as much.
No, it is not. And so it is a generally quiet night. There's probably a half a dozen people here drinking. And so the bartender does give you a couple of they're good bartendery looks. So he's not overstepping his bounds, unless, of course, you decide he is. You're the Van Horst in this situation. But he is definitely giving you that, like, this is the 4th 2 fingers of this whiskey I have poured for you in the last 30 minutes, sir. You seem exceptionally dedicated tonight.
I think after the 3rd one, like for this 4th one, he's now asked for it on the rocks. just because of the fact that the flavor is starting to get to him, and like he's like having just like a moment where he's like, I really want to get drunk, but this is difficult. Which speaks to his palate, I feel. And like he's just not used to having things that he doesn't enjoy. And I think that's just how Matthew Van Horst is sometimes he's dedicated to getting the job done, but damn it, he wants to do it in a way that he enjoys, and this is, halvesies on it.
Okay.
From the look, I think he doesn't really even like give it time. Like he just looks back and like raises his eyebrows and takes the drink.
Okay. Yep.
It's one of those things where like he doesn't really want to speak because he also is concerned that like what if he starts to slur and then they like kick him out of the bar. So like instead it's just the haughtiness that he just draws around him like a cloak.
Mm-hmm. And the funny thing is that you can almost entirely tell that, of course, you're a stranger in this bar. And you came in right away in very nice clothes and started drinking heavy. So you can only imagine the narratives that are being imagined about you.
Oh, yeah.
The three guys over there in the booth in the corner that have not moved since you came in here and probably haven't moved since 20 minutes since the bar has opened, getting very quietly, gently drunk. I wonder if they think if you're like a detective, or do they think you're some casino boss who just wants to have a couple drinks where nobody knows him? Maybe your mob? So it's
he's like wearing like black gloves and like I feel like mob is a likely like concern.
Yeah. There is a lull in the music. This is a jukebox era, right? We've got jukeboxes in 1957. I'm not insane, right? Yeah, okay. And so there's a minute where, for whatever reason, the jukebox takes a few extra seconds to process between songs. And in that time, you do hear a little bit of no, you leave him the hell alone. Don't you ask him no questions. Don't you go up there. Like, whoever he is, we don't want any on us, essentially, is what they're saying. So there's someone who's very nosy and two people who are like, this is going to end disastrously. And you hear in that kind of the weird moment where your hearing is a little bit improved, where you can hear things that you shouldn't normally be able to hear, and they're a little bit too loud. So one guy, a little bit of slur in his voice, says, "Oh, I'm going to go up there and I'm going to ask him." And the guy levers himself up, and this is technically he's wearing a button down, but this is not a nice button down. This is off the rack. It has not been tailored. His sleeves are not even rolled up. They're just forcibly pushed up and just trapped on his biceps. His tie is still loose around his neck, and it looks absolutely to be possibly, it's not silk, maybe a cheap synthetic, or possibly even, heaven forbid, linen or cotton. It is a working man's outfit. And you can kind of see him out of the corner of your eye and with a little bit of the bar mirror helping you. And he stands up and he takes one step towards you, and then his eyes are snatched away. Not literally, it's a metaphor. His attention is arrested to someone at the door. And the look of absolute ravenous hunger that comes across this man's face. If you've ever seen I'm sure you have, because Matthew, you are educated enough to know that there have been times in the founding and the colonization of America that the male to woman ratio was intensely, dangerously out of whack.
Mm-hmm.
Where sometimes in some of these cities, there was maybe only 20 or 30 women and several hundred men. As a matter of fact, some of them have turned that fact to great skill, whose name eludes me, the lady that ran the speakeasy and the gambling house, I think in San Francisco. I'll find her later. But you can imagine that a man who has not seen a woman for years and years and years and has hungered for one would look at whatever is over your shoulder with that same intensity. And Matthew, the thing that kind of reaches out and reaches up from the booze in your stomach that's slowly being digested and poisoning your bloodstream and your brain in a very particularly pleasant way, it says to you, you look at Clara like that when no one's looking at you. That's what you look like on the outside.
Is there a mirror on the bar, like behind the things? Like it sometimes is and there sometimes isn't. Depends on the bar.
Yes. There is a mirror on the bar. It is not as good of a mirror as you wish it was at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
But there is a mirror at the bar. But what gives you the first piece of information is the sound of an expensive high heel on a wooden floor is the only thing that sounds like an expensive high heel on a wooden floor. That tick-tock, that sound that almost has that like clockmaker's precision to it. And you hear that sound from your right, walking past you to the left.
He doesn't want to turn his head.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of the reasons I was asking, like, to see whether or not he can catch a glimpse in any other
Mm-hmm.
way.
Matthew, it's going to take you a little while to get an idea that something might be happening here. So this is going to happen for a little while, just free form. But when you look up, there is a sense of it's almost like you did not realize you were in a noir film. That you get a sense of them, a sense of their shape, of their tailored clothing, of the fur at their neck, at the clutch in one of their hands, and their shape and their smell. But you really can't quite see their face. It's like the director in the movie you didn't know you were in doesn't want you to know which actress it is yet. They want to do a slow reveal.
Okay.
And the purse sits down next to you, and you recognize this purse. Not the purse itself, but you do recognize the brand on it. It is a shockingly expensive purse. A brand that you yourself has purchased for Clara more than once.
He looks at it. And he looks at it in the way that, like, this is the first time that he's tried to make his looking clear of like showing that he recognizes that this is an expensive purse. And then he will look at the person's face. If he can.
Well, when you turn, if this is okay, yeah, when you start to turn your head, the fingers against your cheek, she puts her fingers against your cheek and they are in satin gloves, and she says, "Oh, not yet." In that, don't worry, you'll see. I'm just making you wait.
He will take her wrist. He won't turn more. He will take her wrist. And he will set it on the bar. Then you'll wait too.
Matthew, her voice is the cigar and good whiskey purr of a voice rasped by an evening of really good loud sex. It is the just been fucked voice. And you can almost in your mind's eye imagine like blue smoke curling out of that mouth, like out of the mouth of an opium addict. And she says, "What's a tailored shirt and a nice tie like that doing in a place like this?"
I could say the same of you.
I'm doing what I always do. I try to find something worth my time.
Here?
It worked, didn't it?
You like to gamble.
I don't like to be safe.
What are you looking for?
See, that's the thing about me is I don't ever really look for something. I look for someone. And when I look for someone, I look for someone who wants. And I can smell your want down the street.
Matthew takes a long, slow inhale through his nose. He is clearly enjoying her scent, clearly enjoying her body next to him. And with all of that, like, he lets his desire show.
And her smell is rich in that she smells like the clothes she has on. She smells like her hair product. She smells like the satin of her gloves. She smells like everything that she is.
And with all of that, he says, with just this casual, because he is in his feelings. He is in a lot of pain. And because of that, he says with just the most casual, calculated cruelty, I'm not interested in whores.
And her finger on the bar where she has done a hand gesture for "give me the same drink he has" actually does an irritated 1, 2, 3, 4 index irritation pattern on the table.
She sees him smile at that. And it's clearly this moment of him lashing out at someone because he can't lash out at the people he wants to currently lash out at. It's that sort of like petty cruelty of, oh, I see. I'm aroused and I can't go to the person I want to be with because I'm in a fucking argument with them.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm going to do the next best thing and be a fucking asshole.
Yes. And she says, oh, honey, you have me deeply misunderstood. I don't do this because I need money. Look at me. You think you get this on the Vegas hooker's salary?
I wouldn't know.
I do this because it's fun. And you sound like somebody that has something rough on the mind.
You're not wrong about
that. I know. So tell me about this pretty girl you're mad at.
He will knock back the rest of his drink
and
gesture for another 2.
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever wish that you could just reach into the person you loved and make them understand everything that you needed them to understand so that you didn't have to ever even speak? It's like a fairy tale idea. The perfect romance. But it doesn't exist.
You see, perfect romances don't exist because they're not any fun. You really want to live the rest of your life without makeup sex?
I guess there's a point of diamonds are nothing without their flaws.
Perfection is boring. Messy is sexy. What's her name, Matthew?
Then he full on turns.
Mm-hmm.
And looks who the fuck this is who knows his name.
Matthew, the thing that catches you, that grabs your attention, and you will have to keep it together at a -2.
Okay.
To make your mental way out of this, is the first thing that happens is you turn your head and she has Clara's brow ridge and nose structure. Like the broad, the broad as in the major lines of Clara's appearance, this lady now has.
You said at a -2?
Mm-hmm.
I'm rolling willpower. Okay, so that cancels each other out.
You got to keep it together.
That is a 13.
Okay.
So not perfect, but not.
Yeah. So we got a lot of options that we could
Yeah.
Just right in the book, I see angry, sad, scared, guilt-ridden, obsessed, distracted, haunted.
Yeah, I'm good with like it depends, right? Like, so I see her brow ridge.
And does that flash image of Clara being right here, right now make you angry?
I think it does, because the way that this person is talking is not how Clara talks to him. So there's an aspect there of like, this is not someone who's Clara, but this is someone who looks like Clara. And that almost makes it worse, because what he really wants, like deep down, he wants to go home and be with Clara and have rough makeup sex and like have everything work out. Like, right? Like, this is, in fact, that's what's literally been suggested to him. And he's like, I'm drunk. That sounds like we can just not think about our problems anymore. And instead, there's a facsimile. And that's upsetting. So I think angry. Yeah. And -1 stability.
Yeah.
So he keeps it together, but he's not happy about it.
Yes.
Is the answer.
And she is going to begin to directly attempt to seduce Matthew at this point.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Which he's drunk and he's angry. So these are not perhaps one of these is helpful, one of these is hindering. What does she actually look like?
She looks just enough like Clara. If you decided that she looked like Clara, she would look like Clara. If you want her to be Clara.
So there is a direction I can see Matthew taking this, but it is pretty heavy.
Okay.
So I actually would want to take a moment just to check in with the group.
Sure.
Because the combination of the fact that he's angry, that she looks kind of like Clara, but not completely like Clara. The way that I can see this going is him going along with the seduction and then turning it into something very violent. Because all the rage he has at Clara right now, all the anger, all that pent up feelings of being hurt, he can't physically act on them in the way that necessarily his most base instincts are wanting to act. Because he loves her. But this isn't her, this is someone else.
Okay.
So I think what he would most likely do is go along with the seduction until he got somewhere private.
Okay. Well, what's delightful is that the way you're feeling lines right up with the next thing I was going to say.
Perfect.
So if you're comfortable with this escalation, we're going to go into fucked up, bad shit, wrong, abuse, terrible people territory. So
I'm okay with that. I just wanted to check in, especially because, you know, like it's a heavy sort of subject, especially with the domestic aspect.
Yes, I am also giving everyone a chance to warm up their air fryer and find their ranch dressing for their pizza pockets.
Yeah.
So she looks at him, and Matthew, she gives you the look that is like the little bit of the tongue right in the middle of the lip, that little bit of a lick with a smile and one eye shut just a little bit, very flirtatious, very warm, very, very come hither. Like, it is probably a federal crime that this look is being deployed in a public place. And she says, and that voice again, and she says, so do you want to hit me then fuck me, or fuck me while you hit me?
Why don't you come with me to find out?
I'd love it. And she seems honestly excited. And before we drop the curtain on this, because I think this sounds like the perfect time for a scene shift, tell me where you think you're going to take her.
I actually don't know how Las Vegas was set up in the way that in this time period, but were there like a sort of like our motel things? Okay.
Yeah, I'm getting at least one enthusiastic nod, so I'm going to say yes.
So probably something like that, one of the ones that are known to be discreet. And what I will say is he's not going to be fucking her. There's going to be kissing. There's going to be other stuff. I don't know how in depth you want to go before the scene shift or not, but he is going to be taking her there at the very least.
I think I'd like to do it there, because the idea of the return shift to Matthew, having it be like kind of falling into the hotel room,
perfect. I love
feels
it.
like a very natural
that works for
pick
me.
Back up.
That works for me, and like I think it's a very natural sort of shift.
Yes. So now we are done with one sibling. I think that I'd like to talk to Bethany now.
Okay.
Bethany, I believe that you chose not to leave, that you decided to keep your anger at home in the classic Bethany fashion.
Yep.
All right. And how are you channeling your feelings right now?
Bethany is making plans to circumvent, honestly, her siblings' slow road to enlightenment. She doesn't know what those plans are yet, but while being in Metropolis was bad and they did not have enough power, being back here is worse, because waiting is agonizing and the Red Lady is asleep and she feels terribly alone. She can't talk to anyone who knows more than she does about this comfortably. Like, she thinks Mac hates her, so she can't even go down to like the local monster and like hang out at the tables and have a conversation. Not that she's good at that at all. But Matthew and Clara are in their Matthew and Clara nest, which Bethany did, light that fuse, but no regrets, because Matthew and Clara will be in that cycle forever as far as she's concerned. And that is a thing that is tied up in everything that is the illusion. If they decided that they didn't belong and they didn't care and that what they needed to be together is to be not here, then they'd figure out how to be not here. But that's not what they're doing. They're trying to figure out how to use power here to rule in the illusion, to have all the things they could never have here with all of their money and power. This like love that they have for each other that is so forbidden by society is the one thing they've never been able to like outright flaunt despite their power. And so they want to have it here. And Bethany, who has been so broken by this world that she's convinced she will never have happiness here and she will never have power here. And her only space to find out who she really is and what she really wants, demands that she be unshackled. And she needs to take her siblings along because she doesn't know how to not. And she is, in the back of her mind, convinced that she will die in this illusion before they figure their shit out.
Okay.
And so she needs a parachute ripcord because, so she's trying to figure out backup plans because she doesn't want to force them. They are people. They are some of the few people in this world, but she is becoming more and more convinced that they don't see her as a person, which isn't true, but it's very difficult for her right now in the existence that she's leaning into all of the very sort of divisive feelings that happen when you're left alone. Like even when you're visited, when you are the person who are shut away, when you are the thing that can't be seen. You know, yes, Matthew did come home for dinner. Yes, they talked about a lot of things, but you know, she's never gotten to like go to Paris. She's never been like, this is the longest time she's been away from Pittsburgh ever. She's never like gotten to have the freedom of the world. She's always been cloistered. And so all she feels are Elysium's chains. And there are so few temptations for her here. And if the Red Lady were awake, she would have more patience because she could learn things, because she could explore the thing that she has been essentially, she could go on a date.
Yes.
Like like the amount of times that like Matthew or Clara has been like, ah, yes, your sort of girlfriend who is this great source of power that we will use for information. And Bethany's like, I haven't been on a date with this woman monster thing. Yeah, you guys go on dates and have fucked up shit all the time. And I hear you fucking because you're not quiet. I don't care. And I can't even see her. And
I would just like to smooch my hot monster girlfriend, please.
Just we'll go murder a man and have sex about it. It'll be great. Like I just want to have a date, you know, and she can't. And so like it's harder and harder. And she needs the Red Lady to wake up before she can leave because she needs to find out how to take her with her. And you know, she needs there are things she needs to do before they cannot be here, but she needs to make plans because her siblings won't. So that's where Bethany's rage is currently.
Yeah. The thing that starts making things terrible is the texture of the carpet. Is Bethany barefoot or in slippers or in shoes? Like what's her MO for puttering around the hotel suite?
She's probably in stocking feet.
Okay.
She's probably not in shoes. But depending on how undressed she's gotten, she is probably still in her stockings. So she is probably in stocking feet.
The texture of the carpet very gently turns into the texture of thick forest moss.
Mm-hmm.
The kind of rich, thick emerald green moss that you imagine is on the armor of the Green Knight.
Mm-hmm.
It's an Arthurian, French Arthurian kind of feeling to it.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
And there is kind of an astigmatism sort of bloom in the lights and reflecting off some of the pieces of metal. And Bethany, if you let it, you could almost see them start to become stars. You could watch them crackle and tinkle and kind of float up and to give you a star-filled sky.
So what Bethany does when she feels the moss, the carpet moss, because it's always wet. That green moss that is so dense is always slightly damp. And so she feels it soaking into the feet of her stockings, which starts to cling to her foot, almost clammy. And she has to pause and sit down for a minute so she can rub her thumb over the ball of her foot because it feels wet and she needs to know that the stocking feels wet. But she also has to look at it because for a minute she's worried that it's blood.
It is not blood. It is difficult to describe, but imagine water but rich. There's a heaviness to it, a realness to it, a sense that what is on your feet and now on your fingers is the dream of water. Or what water is when it doesn't have to lie about itself. There is it's not, there is a smell. It is not pungent, but it is that clear, crisp smell of deeply mineralized water. The kind that everything just grows in abundance in, and the kind that is so full of micro minerals and things that when you drink it, you can almost feel them entering your body. The kind of water that a unicorn or a great albino stag or some primeval wolf would stop in a moonlit glade to drink from. And the white walls offer you with gentle, cloying requests for your permission. They say, let us turn into birch trees. Let us become the enchanted forest for you. The world around you right now is asking your permission to take you somewhere wonderful.
There's a hesitation because that's not true. There is an immediate agreement, but it's not a trusting one.
That seems to be fine. It's imagine you are being physically in contact with someone intimately.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not actively, but intimately, and the way you can feel a smile on your skin, like on your neck or on the inside of your wrist. Imagine that kind of a sensation, but mentally. The way you can feel a smile on the inside of your mind. That, okay, it's okay not to trust me. But come on anyway if you want to.
Before she does, she looks around the room, and I think what she actually gets is the lighter that Matthew gave her.
Okay.
What she's looking for is in the classic child adventurer, something that seems unassuming, but it will become a weapon of great importance.
Yes. Okay.
Like, that's what she's doing. She's finding something small that she can take with her. And it's like, if there is a letter opener somewhere on a table, and also the lighter that Matthew gave her. And, you know, I think she'll look at her hand and there's a ring that Clara gave her that she's already wearing. So
okay.
Like, she has something that's a symbol of each of her siblings and something that can vaguely be a weapon, because she definitely read too many books. And therefore,
but isn't it so nice to lose yourself in magical thinking? To not have to play illusion rules.
Yes.
And with your 3 gifts, one a gift from a sibling, another a gift from a sibling, and a third a blade from where you are, into the birchwood forest you go.
Yep.
Bethany, it is the darkest of nights. It is a moonless night, but above you is a swirl of stars. And in that kind of in the Milky Way of a perfect zero light pollution, perfect clarity night that you can see between a few of the trees, the way those stars lazily curl themselves around infinity remind you of a lock of hair that you once twined around your fingers, and of a hip and of a waistline that you have missed under your palms since the minute you felt it. Here is a place where, even though she sleeps still, you can look up and you can see her. And you think that maybe here you could call her down.
She tries immediately. There is not a hesitation in that thought.
You call to the Red Lady. How do you, not in what practice do you do it, but in what vibe do you do it? Excuse me. Do you call for an absent lover? Do you demand her? Do you beg her? Do you beckon her?
There is a dichotomy in the way that Bethany calls to the Red Lady, because It is with both supplication and ownership. The Red Lady is an angel, which means she should be worshipped. That is what she's for, to some extent, is worship. However, the Van Horsts kneel to no one. So the Red Lady is Bethany's angel.
Ooh. Boy, there's a lot there.
Yes.
And you say, my angel, come down to me. And in the stars, there is a gentle rotation like that body rolling over in unquiet but comfortable sleep. The way someone does before they waken. But then there is a presence behind you.
Mm.
And you hear on the soft moss, but still somehow perfectly understandable, the only thing in the world that sounds like horse hooves. And you can hear it come to a stop.
Mm. What are the stars doing?
They have gently stopped moving, but there is a sense of potential motion again, as if you have called to her from another room, but she has not quite woken up yet.
Mm-hmm. Bethany, before even considering these horse hooves and what is behind her, sends a mental caress up to the heavens to say, essentially, like, soon, when you're ready, when you can, come back to me. And the come back to me is not a plea.
Yeah.
The rest of it is soft. That part is not. And then she will sort of, in the pocket of her dressing gown where she has the letter opener, wrap her fingers around the very tiny hilt and turn around, because what she does not want to see, what will make her incredibly angry to see, what she fears that she will see, is a unicorn.
What you see is Bethany's unicorn. This is not pearl white. This is not a curling narwhal's horn. This is not some medieval gesture of purity. This unicorn is built like a warhorse. You can see the thick, dense muscles in its shoulders and legs and neck. You can almost imagine, if you ran your hands across it, you could feel the calluses where armor or yoke or trace has sat. And you can see in its mouth as it shakes its head that it is a predator's mouth full of fangs. And instead of one curling horn, it is a pair of fractal, gashing, mangling horns made out of starlight and the darkness between them. And it is red. It is red from the mouth out, like it has run 1,000 miles with blood running from its mouth from fresh kills so far and so long, and so much death that it has died all of itself. A rich, intoxicating vermilion.
And her fingers on the hilt ease. Although they're beautiful.
It stamps a hoof and shakes its head, and you can see now that the mane is that look of hair that has before been braided, but it is now loose in a way that says, if you take the time, I can be domesticated, but I am not right now, and I killed the last one who tried. And it doesn't say yes and it doesn't say no, but it says a fuck you, put some work in. But it does reach its great muscled neck out.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see the scars on its neck, big, thick, circular bite marks where fangs have sunk in and removed flesh, and it has healed.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see the marks under its skin where the fur has been cut and split and scarred and grown back slightly differently, and so it held the blood that dyed it slightly differently. There is almost a sense, if you imagine the way that old mean bastard of a whale was described, covered in scars, with old harpoons sticking out of it, you can almost imagine all the places and ways that this beast has broken other humans.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Bethany considers it for a long time and inspects it. Not in like a walking around and looking it over, not, looking at its teeth. In a horse way, not in a it has big fangies way. But instead it is as if by looking at the scars on its body, she is attempting to understand its life, see its story, see what did where, try to figure it out. And she is, as she's doing this sort of inspection, getting closer and closer, and not hesitantly, but in a question, she reaches out her hand to touch it. It's a slow telegraph. It can move or it can try to bite, and if it does, we'll have a fight about it.
It does not. It seems to be pleased with the level of frank care you are giving it. You are not treating it like you own it. And what you see as you inspect the scars is a life of running through, of breaking through, of shattering, of leather and chain breaking across its chest and leaving whiplash scars, of running full tilt at a wall made of stone and shattering it, and not caring about the broken bones or blood that it has put itself through, and running anyway. And when you reach your hand out, it warns you. It does not say, do not touch me, but it says, when you touch me, then I will have been touched. And that warning is the rattling, basso crackle growl of a 1,200-pound tiger.
And she touches the scars and she admires them. And she doesn't talk to it yet again, but her manner is complimentary. That it is wonderful that in slamming itself against the world, it broke the world did not break it.
Exactly so.
And there is a wish in her to be like that animal. And she knows that she isn't, or that she wasn't. That before she could even throw herself against the world, it squished her down. And that there's also a sense that she feels right now that if she could jump on the animal's back and run it through the illusion to any elsewhere, she wouldn't. Not because she doesn't want to, but because it feels like cheating.
But maybe a little ride, maybe just to feel the power,
maybe a little,
just to know what it's like, how fast you have to go to shatter the world.
Yes, but when we do it for real, Bethany doesn't want to be a passenger. She wants to do the shattering.
Bethany, by the time it is time to run through the world and leave nothing but Hadrian's shattered wall and dream behind you, the mane will be braided, and this beast will be yours, and you will be guiding it with your voice and your heels and your thighs.
Then Bethany and this beast have an understanding and maybe a little ride, just to see.
And that is where we are going to leave our dear Bethany as she climbs on the back of the unicorn. So I think for this scene, actually, wait. Curtis, I'd like this to be on the stream. Please don't edit this out because this is a content warning. I think for this scene, we are going to have some frank sexual act talk.
Yeah.
Like we're going to be discussing fucking and sucking, to be super blunt about it. And so if you are not a sex type talk person, your pizza rolls are ready. But also in this scene is going to be terrible people and we will flag it as it comes up. And if we find ourselves going further than this brief warning is, we'll record one later, and Curtis will slide it in like a knife through the third and fourth rib. Clara, the thing that really makes you get a sense that you've got something going here in this fuck smelling, sweaty, warm booze, there is that smell when there's alcohol like on the floor, when there's a surface area of alcohol, the way all of the whatever they are, the esters or whatever the words are, all those different things, that aromatics that are rising up into the air, and it smells that, and you can smell the scent of human arousal and of climax and of sweat and of panting and of just enough blood for you to know that they are really into it. And the thing that tells you first that you know that you have something, that you've got something going here, that this head game is working, is when the man makes eye contact with you while he is fucking a girl. And he makes perfect eye contact with you while he comes. And you can see in his eyes and on his face, and you can feel it in his spirit. He doesn't know he's doing it, because the best ones, you start them off not knowing what they're doing, but you know that in this moment, this act, this ejaculation, this offering is for you, Clara. That the act of it is being done for you, to you. Even though you are not involved in it, it is for you.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a little thrill of something that starts down in your core and crawls its way up your spine, and it feels the way an orgasm would feel if you injected it into a major vein. And when that slow roll starts to fade a little bit and you look at that man again, he is still looking at you, but he is not moving. And the girl has kind of pulled herself forward, not dragged herself forward desperately, but cat-like pulled herself forward in full control of her faculties, away from him, off of him. And he is there, and he is staring at you, and you can see that all of the blood vessels in one eye have ruptured. Because he is not dead, but when he gave something to you, you pulled something out of him.
She walks over to him and pets his hair and goes, "I'm so glad you enjoyed yourself. Why don't you sit and watch and get a drink while I work with some of the others? But you're my special one."
You cannot tell what the words that came out of his mouth were. You know that the first one was yes, but it seems like he couldn't figure out the next one. There were too many impulses, so it kind of comes out as sort of a mouthful of sounds, but you think you hear mistress and queen and other feminine endearments just trying to climb out of his mouth all at once.
So I'm going to slightly go back to where the setup was.
Yes.
Because Clara has pulled a bunch of her girls from the Metropolis show in for we're going to have a fun time. and a fun night. There's been lots of booze and lots of drugs, and they kind of went to a bar and picked up a bunch of men who looked like users, abusers, sleazy. We were like, and she made the directive to her girls, find somebody that you want to use because you know that they've used women before.
Okay.
And came back to the theater. So we are in the theater and the stage blacks with booze and party and costumes and things everywhere. And Clara, the Metropolis throne on the stage, after she has set people up and gotten people naked and kind of directed this entire show and made certain they were drunk and having fun, kind of sat herself in her throne on the stage and has been watching and directing. She's taken off most of her clothing. She took off her bra, but has left her slip on. So like there's just the dustiness of nipples and hair. There's all the suggestion of things, but she's still kept covered.
An important
because
distinction.
Nobody gets the full goddess. But the temptation and the promise is there.
Yes.
And so she's been residing over this orgy for probably a good hour by now.
Yes.
And so when she picks up this man and goes, "You're my special one," she brings him to the base of the throne to sit on the edge of the stage where he would sit at her feet if she went to return to sit in the throne.
Okay. And
goes,
he just collapses.
She sets another drink down beside him, doesn't force him to drink it, but the option is there, and kisses his forehead. Goes, "You did so well."
The kiss makes him do another full body near orgasmic / aftershock shudder. And what you are seeing now is the seductive coercion of these men. Now that many of them have gotten off once or twice, and maybe their bodies are flagging and they are a little worn out, but your girls are saying more, 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 more. And no one is making them give more. They want to give more. They want to fuck again. They want to do it all again. There is another one over there that has gotten their attention. And so you watch these men who have been cruel in bed, not even abusive, but thoughtless in bed, thoughtless in ways that leave a woman unpleasantly and unkindly sore. And you see on their faces a face that you have recognized before. And it is good. And so it is in this kind of this pause, and there is almost a natural organic pause of water and a little bit of rearranging and a kind of a separation between the scenes almost. And there are some people are thirsty, some people just want to stand up and stretch their legs or whatever else. And so there is this brief pause. And so it is in that lull that one of the doors in the back of the theater, you watch the knife blade of light as it opens and is interrupted by a body and then closes again.
And the body came in through the door?
Yes.
She goes and She doesn't immediately run over. She checks on a few more of her girls, makes certain everybody has what they need, the women at least, and then strides slowly up to where that body is, still just in her slip, drink in hand, staring. May I help you?
Walking down the aisle with a slight grin on his face is a man in a tailored three-piece suit. His suit is the gray of new steel. His shirt is oblivion white. His tie is nightmare black. His skin is naturally pale, slightly darkened from the desert sun, and his eyes are a crystal blue. And his hair is a platinumish, whitish blonde, swept back from his head and going down to about below his ears. And there's something vaguely European about him, something a little... The suit, the cut's a little off. The cut isn't a New York cut. The hair is clearly not a classic American hairstyle for the time. There's a little bit of do what I want in his appearance. And the thing that seals it for you is his pocket square, which is the only piece of color, and it is the richest, most luxurious royal purple with gold embroidered trim.
Well, you're a tall drink of water, but this is a private party.
It is, but I could just hear how much fun you were having from outside. I could smell it. And I had to see. I had to know.
What are you?
Just a man. A hungry one.
That's a lie, and we both know it.
Okay, fine. A horny, hungry man.
The pocket square, does it have echoes of the Royal Phoenix Society? Yeah.
It's absolutely their colors. It's 110%.
Okay, I thought so.
Like, it matches the Pantone colors. Like,
yeah. Are you with the society?
And he looks at you and looks down at his pocket square as if he did not realize he had it on him. In that 50% oops, 50% oh shit. Like, in this fantastically flirtatious, and he throws his head back and he laughs. And Clara, that is a laugh that you want to hear in your ear. Because it's that, you know from that laugh that he is the kind of guy that laughs when he comes. Just for the sheer joy of it. And you can see the design of his neck and the way it articulates. And you can almost taste the desert salt right here. And he says, no, I am with no one. Everyone I am near is with me.
Oh, we're going to fight.
Do we get to make up afterwards?
If you're worth it.
So, do you need me to prove that I'm worth it first, or do you want to fight first?
Prove that you're worth it. And she tilts her head and spins on her toe and does just a little gesture of follow me. She doesn't even say words. She expects him to follow. Does he?
He does, but not without that requisite 5 heartbeat pause of, I'm doing it because I want to do whatever is next, not because you can tell me what to do.
Sure.
But Clara, you can hear and feel his eyes on you.
And she is walking. This is a performance. This is a seduction. She knows how to use her body. She knows how she looks right now. She is trying to turn him on and make him worship her the way that other man worshipped her. And she goes and gets who she would consider her best girl, the best looking, the actually talented actress, the one that she kind of wishes she still was, but she's a little too old. That who she likes and who she knows is capable. And hopefully, if the girl is up for it, goes, how are you feeling, Marie?
Marie is pleasantly sore and extremely happy. She generally stayed, she hasn't really gotten drunk. She's generally stayed sober, and she's paced herself fairly well because clearly she intends to be in this fuck pit until everyone else is asleep. Like she is here for the duration.
Good job, Marie.
Yes. I mean, her hair's a little tousled, and you can you can see how she kind of does the fix the hair thing. She says, yes, ma'am.
Introduce yourself to my new friend.
And Clara, when he shifts his attention to Marie, he does it where he clearly looks at you and then makes a subtle but powerful display of shifting his attention. Of, you no longer have my focus. And he looks at Marie. He looks at her the way someone looks at a pig on a hook, or a bolt of cloth as of yet untailored, or a grave as of yet dug. He looks at her in a way of someone who has a deep and profound intention to consume. I guess the Eagles won.
Yeah. Okay, you finally heard that one. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Clara's having a moment here because she does actually value her girls and does not want to damage this one. She's good. Marie, I don't think I caught your name, my friend.
George.
George.
Let's leave the last names out of it, shall we?
For the moment. No promises in the future. Would you both do... Would you enjoy yourselves for me, but with me? We are going to create. Everybody else, you're dismissed. And anybody who is capable of walking out of the room, Clara actually clears out the party other than her little lieutenant who's sitting at her throne.
George of the ice blue eye says, "Oh, that's a shame. I wanted to fuck you in front of everyone. Let everyone see it."
We don't always get what we want.
No, we don't, do we? Very well.
And once the room is clear, Clara invites Marie to lay down and looks at George and goes, "Start proving yourself. I'll give notes."
You're going to roll some dice now, Erica.
Yeah, I also, as we were going through this, I actually, depending on how it goes and how the notes go, kind of want to roll Forbidden Inspiration.
Yes. How about first you roll plus intuition for read a person?
Yeah. Oh, that's not too bad. I don't remember what my intuition is. Oh, that's great. 16.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you may ask 2 questions. The basic ones are you lying? How do you feel right now? What are you about to do? What do you wish I would do? Or how could I get you to ... relevant and end to the sentence?
How can I get you to bend to my will, George?
You are not sure, honestly, if it is possible.
Okay, yeah.
There is a thing in him that is, but it's not, what's interesting about it is it doesn't seem to be chauvinism. It doesn't seem to be like, this fucking broad is telling me what to do. It's anyone in the world dares tell me what to do. And it is clear that he is intrigued, and it is very clear that he very much so desires you, Clara. And so he is slightly, well, let's not say slightly, he is significantly struggling with his internal will, his core drive of do whatever I want, whenever I want, in the face of the world, and to do what you want. Because even the act of doing what you've told him to do when clearly it will get him what he wants is offensive.
Pride, eh? Yep, both of them.
Yep.
I guess the other question, is there something else you wanted to feed me through read a person that isn't necessarily one of those questions?
I will tell you that the only person in this room he feels worth fucking is Clara.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he will fuck Marie as essentially paying the entrance fee for you. But even though he will put his level best into it, he is performing for you. And so he could easily do the same performance on a fucking pillow. Or a man. Or any, like...
Mm-hmm.
Like, the person he is about to have sex with essentially does not exist as a person in his eyes.
Yeah.
The only two people in the room are him and Clara.
Yep. She, if we want to keep going with the scene.
Yeah.
She starts taking them through a performance. She lets him start and sees where he starts, but then she's getting down on the floor with him and she's behind him, adjusting hips, making Marie's back arch more, holding heads. Like, she is basically a part of this orgy without any insertion. Other than penetration, she's a part of this.
Yes.
She is commanding. She is sculpting their bodies on the floor. She is trying to get him to lose himself to the pleasure, to the moment, to the feeling of her body against his back, her voice in his ear while he's with this other woman. And she is coaching Marie on, this is what pleasure is. This is how you get them to look in your eye. This is how you use your body as a weapon and as a tool. And this is how you make yourself something to be worshipped in your art and in your sex and in your power. And she probably says those words to looking Marie in the eye as she's rubbing on George. Like, so Clara is giving performance and direction and losing herself to art and pleasure.
Yes, indeed. Mm-hmm. That's a whole lot.
Yep.
Okay. Do you remember the night that wasn't very long ago in the real world, in the Van Horst timeline, where Wes Smith hate fucked a girl that looked like Clara?
Mm-hmm.
Imagine if in that moment Clara was giving stage direction. This feels very much like that.
It is, but, and this is, I really do want to roll Forbidden Inspiration. I think it's what it's called, because this is that what it's called? Yeah, because this is very much becoming about Clara's magical activation and the way Clara does art and does inspiration, and where Wes Smith's scene was a hate fucking. Clara's is love and obsession until it destroys you. So everything in this moment is about creating love and possession and lust and in total enjoy. There's not an inch of hate here. This is burning passion, and better to live a fast, hot, burning life and die young than to be bored or bitter or old. This is the moments, like, she's gonna burn people out and use them, but she will make every second of that worth it. And that is what she's starting to inspire here.
Yeah, I think let's roll that beautiful beam footage.
Yeah.
One way or the other, I think we'll be ready for our break at this.
Yeah. Okay, that's an 11, and I don't know what gets added to
plus
this.
soul.
14. I just missed it. That's okay. That's like the middle one.
Yeah. So you get your options: entice an entity to come to you, see through the illusion into a specific place of your choice. So there's a scrying sort of thing here. And the last one is inspiration. Ask the GM if there is anything strange or supernatural about the situation you're in. The answer will be revealed through your art.
Yeah. Fuck is George? So is there anything strange or supernatural about the situation that I'm in? That is what she's trying to figure out. And that includes the guy with the blown out eye over there who she kind of fed from.
He's just like hurt. He's just yeah, he's just psychically like a couple quarts low.
Yeah.
George, however, is full of energy. But it isn't just the energy of life. He is full of working energy. He hums on the inside. His body, there's a pulse to it, like an atomic pulse, a deep nuclear reactor hum, and it sits on his forehead at the base of his skull, down to his heart, and down into his crotch. And as he plays along, or in his mind, clearly in this moment of vision, it feels like you two are fucking Marie. To him,
that's kind of what's happening.
This to him is almost like you two v Marie is how it is to him. So he feels like he is team working with you, and you can see in his loins the energy and the way things, like, it is turning and twisting and pulsing. And you can see that he is over time getting close to orgasm. And there is a piece of you that feels like that would be wasted in or on Marie.
Clara's quiet for a few moments, still there in the moment with them, but kind of letting them do their thing, which is also probably delaying things while she tries to figure out. Because the other guy, she was able to tap into that energy without making contact.
You want to think about it?
Yeah, I think, can we, like...
Yeah.
I feel like I had a longer scene, so my follow-up scene might be shorter, but I would like to cliffhanger here.
Yes. So, with Clara in a crisis of indecision, is a perfectly fine time for us to take a quick break.
Yes.
Welcome back to the Place of Wrath and Tears. We are going to get into some heavy scenes. At least one of those scenes is going to involve physical violence. So, yeah, that is the warning. I wish I could use more words, but that is a clear and blunt warning. There's going to be some pretty gross violence here in the next few minutes of game. So, all right. Matthew, you easily find a no-tell motel that charges by the hour or half hour. Like, this is a sex workers town, so that's not a real challenge. So you find one, and you know, it's some negligible amount of money for you, and then it's a other larger but still functionally negligible amount of money to bribe them for the properly clean room.
Yeah. Yeah, that works for me.
And in the brief amount of time that it takes for this to happen, this lady is... she's given you the very much so, like, I am going to be calm and I'm going to be cool and I am going to be collected. As soon as that door shuts, we are going to be having at it.
On the way there, then, he's going to ask her what her name is. She seems to have him at a disadvantage.
My name is Genevieve.
No last name?
No last name, Matthew.
I see. Do you usually look like this, Genevieve?
No, sometimes I'm not wearing clothes.
I see.
What do I look like, Matthew?
I think we both know.
I think we both know too, but I want to hear you say it.
When we're in the room, then.
Ooh, okay. And it's just like everything you're saying is the sexiest possible answer. Like, even if it's essentially a non sequitur for her to do so, she's just...
When they get into the room, he carefully, like, he doesn't shut the door in a slam. He, like, carefully shuts the door. And he locks it as is appropriate for such things. And then he takes her by the shoulders and presses her against the wall. Says,
okay.
Tell me her name. I want to hear it off your lips.
And with all of the artistry of someone who is using their mouth while they're talking to seduce, says, you can call me Clara, Matthew, if you want.
He will kiss her, and it's a full kiss. This is a full-on body-to-body, chest-to-chest, groin-to-groin kiss. And it's almost like he's trying to feel how much like Clara she feels, how much like Clara she tastes, how much like Clara she smells like. Just the full tactile aspect of it.
It is imperfect, but pretty goddamn close. It is seductively close. It is have an affair close. If you wanted to right now, you could let the 10% not Clara fall out of your mind and think that this is Clara.
He kisses her until he can't, like, breathing-wise. There's only so much circular breathing one can do if they're not practiced enough. And then he steps back, and he looks her in the eyes, and he says, Clara, kneel for me.
And her eyes flash bright ice blue. And a smile comes on her mouth, and it's Clara's smile. And Matthew, it's that fucking smile that says, hit me. It's the, I know I'm being hurtful in the middle of an argument. I know I'm putting this between your ribs. Fuck you, I'm angry and I'm mad, and I'm going to make you know that I'm mad at you, and I'm going to hurt you about it. And in that voice, through that smile, she says, make me.
He takes his hand, and it's the left hand, of course, and slams her against the wall by her throat.
Mm-hmm.
And as he chokes her, he kisses her again.
Mm-hmm.
And he very slowly and steadily and surely cuts off all her air while sucking it out of her lungs.
Ooh, I feel like that's a roll.
Yeah, probably.
That feels like a roll.
It feels like a roll.
Yeah.
He's not trying to like make her unconscious, but it's if that is a sensation.
Yeah. Are you trying to do harm?
I wouldn't say he's trying to do harm at this point.
Yeah.
He's more trying to, weirdly enough, influence a person. Like, this is to jar and frighten.
Okay.
But there are a lot of ways that you could do it. You could do it as a violence action. You could do it as
I want to say
well.
it's act under pressure.
Ooh, that works too.
Because this feels like a very complicated moment, both mentally and physically, and you're going to have to keep your shit very tight.
Yep.
Because, man, wouldn't it be just nice just for once to be able to, yeah.
Yep. Okay. It all comes down to how much cool do I have? Okay, I rolled a 13, so that is 15.
Okay. So you do what you intend. And what do you intend this to do?
From what she has put forth, the implication that he's getting from her is that she wants him to force subjugation on her.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is what he is trying to do, both through like the act of like physical violence, but in a, from what she implied at the bar, something that like a sensual fashion.
Yeah.
And just the sheer sort of like suddenness and rattlingness of that kind of like puts someone into their hindbrain.
Mm-hmm.
Like that is the sort of subjugation that he is going for. It is a sexual subjugation.
Yeah.
And it is a very much not something that he's ever done with Clara, interestingly enough. Because Clara and him, they've been heavy at times, but he never tries to frighten her. This is psychological.
Yeah.
Like, he's actually been probably rougher with Clara in the past, but he's never tried to psychologically fuck with her head in the way that he is currently trying to psychologically fuck with this person's head.
Yeah. She is clearly terrified and clearly loving every minute of it. She kind of, the look she's giving you is like, yes, at last, something real out of you. And one hand is holding on to like the forearm of the hand that you're choking with, and the other hand is like, unless you stop her, caressing your chest.
He does not stop her. After more moments than is probably comfortable for her,
mm-hmm.
he will break apart just barely and speak with like his breath across her lips and say, feel, Clara?
And the yes that comes out of her mouth is clear, but the jumble after it isn't. Yes, sir. Yes, master. Yes, Matthew. All of these different words are trying to come out of her mouth at the same time, and she hits the ground, and you can tell that those are going to be rug-burned knees in the morning. Such was just the full body collapse of her. And it is not an artistic, beautiful posed kneel. It is a collapse.
Matthew
but it
stands.
is earnestly meant.
Matthew stands in front of her. And I think, and he reaches down so that the tips of his fingers are caressing her face on each side. And I think that the first hint that she gets that something is wrong here is that in this posture, she's right in front of his pants. And she can see that he is not hard.
Ooh, yeah, that is that is not what she thought she was going to land in front of.
And then that's when he uses inner power to try to shred off her face. And as he does so, he says, Van Horsts don't kneel.
Yeah, fucking metal. All right. Roll that beautiful bean footage. If you roll a 9, this is going to get real interesting.
I know, right? I got a 10 and a 3, and it's plus soul, so I think that's a 16.
You got 11d7.
Yeah.
Inner power attacks all opponents in your vicinity, causing 2 harm. Okay.
I assume she's technically the only one in my vicinity, so it's not like it's going to add to it, but yeah.
Yeah. So you're going to need to roll some more dice here in a minute.
That's okay, because he knew what he was doing.
Her face peels off. And what's interesting is that her face peels off and it peels like skin, like latex or skin, like a layer over another face. And this face is with a ruddy complexion. And no, it is not. Give me a minute. It is a complexion that is slightly mottled, as if there is something maybe wrong with it. Wrong in not that there is something wrong with it, but wrong as if that is you are getting a signal something is non-standard. Almost something like a little bit like, it's very difficult to describe, and I'm going to keep it vague there because I need to think about something. And so Clara's face peels away and it's hanging in tatters, but the force of your inner power, the release of that energy was so significant that it actually started to tear her clothes. And what you see is her clothes also peel from the same piece, as if the entire suit was part of a covering. And now that you've melted your lover's face off, who is currently pregnant with your child, how about you roll to keep it together?
Yup. Yeah. I was going to say, can I roll to keep it together now?
Uh-oh. plus willpower.
Plus willpower. Okay. You're gonna get to choose my reaction because I rolled snake eyes. So my willpower of 2 got me to a 4.
Oh.
So I can cower powerless, panic with no control, suffer emotional trauma at -2 stability, or suffer life-changing trauma at -4 stability.
I kind of want to do 2 because I kind of want to have Matthew be so stunned by the visual effect of what he did that he's kind of not able to move for a minute. But I also think that no matter what, he's going to suffer emotional trauma, whether or not we knock off any stability.
Yeah, like I will say, if you do 3 or 4, I will just start saying some words. Because I think that he'll just go into full inner turmoil rant mode. Can I speak while I'm just standing there?
Yes.
That's my sort of thing. Is I want to be able to get out like some of the stuff that's been internally going. And so I think instead of like doing other actions which would be actually beneficial to him, like, I don't know, like anything, he starts saying, this isn't what I ever wanted. This isn't what I wanted from you. This isn't what I wanted from any of us. You're not supposed to be my lesser.
And even though this person has invoked all of this and brought this all upon and has done everything possible to invoke this horrific, violent response, let us not assign blame because Matthew could have been a better man at any point.
So much better. No, like Matthew is not a good person.
Yeah. Matthew still chose to do a terrible thing, and it doesn't matter what the situation was, he still made that choice.
Yes.
So when she tries to gather up the shredded remains of her face and the beginning of her clothes and use it to hide herself, it looks what it looks like. Yeah. Very awful and terrible, and an attempt to obscure and hide. And she turns and kind of reaches for the doorknob desperately while you yell and vent your spleen. And do you stop her?
I think because he's so shaken and he wasn't able to keep it together from that sort of thing, I think all he does is says, if I ever see you wearing that face again, I will kill you. But he can't move. He can't act.
Yes. And as you say this, as she has fumbled open the lock and kind of fought and like half stood up and half dragged herself out the door, and you say, if I ever see you wearing that face again, you see her hands like this, like trying to hold her face on. Mm-hmm. But you see one glacier blue eye with a fresh level of hatred in it.
Valid.
As they turn and run down the hallway away from Matthew.
Matthew, I think at this point, just throws up.
Yes.
Just throws the fuck up. And
so,
like, he doesn't make it to the bathroom. Like, he doesn't even move. He just throws up, and then he sits down next to his own fucking stick and shakes. He can't even cry when he's alone. He's not, because he can't. He just can't. But everything that just happened to him because he is really self-centered and he will focus on himself, is an example of, this is what I'm doing to Clara. I am ripping her apart. I am taking everything that she is. I am subjugating her. And in his head, he cannot help but remember the time that Bethany looked at him and said, before you came, we were queens together.
Ooh, yeah. And so, if I may describe the close of that scene.
Please do.
That was awful. Are you okay?
I'm okay. The only thing that I would say is that I guess I'll have to use some influential friends to try to clean the fuck out of that bullshit. But like, also, I really wanted to get into some of Matthew's really internal screaming since last game, so I feel very cathartic.
Good. So Matthew, next to his own barf on the floor of this no-tell motel, does not notice the way that his inner power has left like an atomic flash burn.
Love it.
On the wall of a kneeling figure, and with the way the skin and the hair peeled off, it almost looks like there's a sun disk behind it.
So good.
And I think we need to leave Matthew alone for a while.
Yeah, he would like to have some alone time.
Right. Bethany, it is like riding the heart of a star. It is, but it is like, and by heart, I mean the physical heart of a creature that is a star. I don't mean a undefined ball of fission. I mean the thrumming, beating, moving, vascular core of power of a beast star.
Yeah.
And it is incredible. And your lady sleeps fitfully above you, and you are in the birchwood forest, and the moss is soft and cool, and the air is spring sunrise warm. And when the idea of a Parthenon-style temple gently rises out of the ground, as if the loam upon which the forest grows was laid at the moment that the stones for this building was laid. It is not an invasion, is not an overtaking. They are together. This is as much a part of this forest as the woods, and the columns are pale, perfect marble. But inside it are translucent black veins. Almost, if you look carefully, and if you think that maybe in the perfect moment, at the right night, that if you stood in the middle of this temple, that the columns and the roof would be a perfect negative image of the sky above you. As if telling you again that this is part of this place, and also promising you, yes, even here, if you look up, you can see her. And your your steed, I think, is an easily vague but accurate term. Your steed comes to a stop, not angrily, not as if they are forbidden, but as if it is the thing that is done. It is with the grace of a valet that they come to a halt, with their feet resting on the first of the giant flags of this temple. And Bethany is a Van Horst, and so Bethany has been brought to the front of a building more than once in her life. And even absent David, and with only some blood-mad, reality-shattering beast there, you still feel somehow as if you have been handed down out of a Rolls Royce.
So, yeah, Bethany, who rode horses, because the Van Horst had them, among other things, so this is not an uncomfortable thing, slides from the horse and with her hand on its neck and her eyes to the sky, she whispers, "Before we break the world, I will have your true name, my beautiful creature." And it is unclear whether she means the steed or the Red Lady or both.
Or if they are separate.
Or if they're separate at all. And then, with a pat that is a small promise, she lets the steed go and walks up to the temple.
It gives its incorrect snort. There is a horsey neigh in there, but there is also the chuffing, loud, barking bellow of maybe a bear or some other great, terrible apex predator. And you hear the tick-tock, tick-tock of the hooves on the marble, and then the softer noise of its feet on the moss. And as it doesn't gallop away, trots away, you hear a second set of hooves. As if there was another beast out here.
Bethany pauses, but doesn't turn to look. There's an acknowledgement of the second sound and then a dismissal, the same way that she would dismiss another Bethany were she not forced to directly interact with it.
Okay.
That if there's a sense that could the Red Lady be this horse and the Red Lady has other Bethanies she uses, eventually the Red Lady will be hers and the horse will as well, apparently. So they're of no matter at the moment until she needs to make them go away.
Okay.
And so she will continue.
Into the temple?
Yes.
It should surprise Bethany not at all that this place follows dream architecture as well as its own dream logic. And so when she transitions from walking into the temple to into the temple, it's not that jarring. It's just a understanding of, the scene has changed. The moment is different. Now I am done entering the temple. Now I am in the temple. And the center of the temple is a beautiful, beautiful circular pool. And lining it is turquoise and other opaque gemstones and amber that's very rich and dark. These are not scintillating colors. These are rich, blobs isn't the right word, but those rich organic round river rock shapes in a circle. And in the middle of that circle, and I mean it's like 20 feet across too, this is a big fucking circle, is a pool full to the brim with the mercurial equivalent of metropolitan steel. It has the same iridescence to it, but it is flowing with that incredible like mercury thing. And laying on her side in a sleeping gown that stretches past her knees onto the floor, a very much just found out my husband was murdered, very, very gauzy with giant cuffs, laying on her side in a perfect pre-Raphaelite repose, dipping her fingers in the mercury, is another Bethany.
Oh, you're just gonna have to die because you're ruining my moment.
And she looks up and she smiles at you in genteel beatific greeting.
Oh gosh. Okay. Bethany's gonna do what her first impulse was before somebody was here. Which is, while not quite ignoring her, she is going to slip off her robe and slip off her underthings and slip off her stockings and walk right into the pool and anoint herself in the Metropolis mercury, unless the other Bethany stops her.
She does not.
Great.
Her eyebrows raise in a little bit of a like, well, okay, that was a choice.
Yes.
But not aggressive. That's just like, I see, we are doing a thing. How very interesting.
Yep. Bethany doesn't like to be the aggressor, but she's also very annoyed because this place is hers and what is this person doing here? So she's going to ignore the other Bethany and do what she wanted to do anyway.
Great. Have you ever gotten, like, I used to work in a fiberglass plant. Come with me on a trip here. I used to work in a fiberglass plant and we used a lot of chemicals and I shredded the skin on the back of my hands. I, being a early 20s undiagnosed male-shaped dirtball, had no skincare at all until one of my friends was like, oh my God, put this shit on your hands, you're scaring me. And I think it was Utter Cream.
Yes. Oh, that stuff's so good.
But my hands were so screwed up and so dried out that I could like feel the moisture entering my skin. It is that full body like absorption sensation that you get. And it's not entirely comfortable because feeling every inch of your exposed skin absorb is not really a thing that happens happily.
No,
but you do feel polished.
Yeah.
As if you have gotten a beautiful like 6.5 hour like exfoliating scrub. You feel smooth and you feel limber. Like lubricated, but in a mechanical sense. Like you just like everything works really well at the moment.
Yeah. Yes.
And so you come out of the pool. The other Bethany at this point has now, since your anointing, has now placed herself kind of once again sprawled. This Bethany seems to be a sprawler. At the bottom of one of these impossibly large pillars now, away from the pool, clearly seeming to have ceded it to you.
Yes.
In a display of non-aggression, but is still in her like, I'm just going to be here and lounge.
So very interesting, because it's so non-aggressive that Bethany is starting to consider her as furniture, like as a servant, as a completely dismissed other thing. Also in the sense that, like, this is a beautiful place to visit. This place is mine. I will own all of the things in it. It was given to me. This other thing that looks like me is window dressing or is a reflection. And if it is my mirror that is in this place for my use when I need it, that's fine. Like, she doesn't need to break her things. And since the other Bethany is ceding Bethany's own possession of this place, that Bethany is quickly becoming to Bethany Prime a possession, essentially. And she has no use to break her tools or toys unless it's necessary, or unless they decide to not be that.
Okay.
But in the same way that it's a tool or a toy or a doll, she has no interest in talking to it either.
Okay.
So unless if the other Bethany is waiting for Bethany to come to her, Bethany will not. Because as someone who has been alone, the only power that Bethany has known for her entire life is making people come to her.
She seems to be perfectly content to give you space.
Okay.
I mean, she's kind of doing a little bit of like lazy touching of things with her hand in that way that you run your finger over a like the armrest of a chair that because all the chairs, of course, at your home, the wood parts were all hand carved and all intricate. And Bethany, I'm sure, stemmed in some way or stem adjacented with all of those whirls and curls and finding them and tracing the symmetries as a comforting action when the walls started bleeding.
Yes.
And so you kind of recognize that sort of lose myself in a textural delight. But if it looks like you are getting ready to leave, that is when the other thing will speak.
Okay. Bethany will first, after anointing herself in the pool, she will explore the space to see if there's anything else of interest for her in the temple.
There are rooms, but there are no rooms. There are a series of these pillars, and through some interesting tricks of line of sight and probably non-Euclidean fuckery, the rooms are separate, but there are no rooms.
Yes.
So you find beautiful reclining couches and like a Victorian claw-footed tub, like beautiful and enameled and ornate, and obviously like a Victorian England claw-footed tub.
Yeah.
Complete with like pipes coming up out of the floor into it, and other pieces like that, and some art that is here. and some vases and some urns and some other pieces of art that you do not recognize but remind you of the strange and terrifying art that you saw collected in Metropolis. Art that you almost feel like you don't have the sensory apparatus to appreciate. And then there is a room that probably disquiets you. Because it is an operating theater. It is gleaming. What's interesting is that the floor is tiled in gleaming metropolitan steel, but they are actually tiles. Like someone made tiles and laid them in and grouted them. Which is
a choice.
As near as you can tell, completely unnecessary.
Oh, yeah.
And the table rises up out of them like a tree onto the table, and you can see on the side of it just what looks like beautiful whorls, and they beg you to run your fingers along them, what is probably just like a haptic control panel. And then hanging down from the ceiling like a piece of art or a chandelier, or maybe even like a bundle of fruit from a tree you could not place or recognize, is a cluster of sharp things. And you feel like you could reach up to there with something in your mind that you wanted and pull it out. As if it was a every tree for the vivisectionist's art.
So what Bethany's going to do, and she's going to do this in a leisurely manner, taking her time to continue to explore the theater and the rest of the temple, and she'll sort of drift back to the pool and play with it for a little while. And she's doing it like she owns everything here, but is also being incredibly casual, like, because she's going to reach into the robe and pull out the letter opener from home and dip it in the Metropolis pool until it's coated and shiny and feels new. And she's going to wander her way through the rooms again, and she's going to go back to the operating theater, and she's going to put the letter opener in the sharp parts of the machine.
It accepts it into its undefinable apparatus with the same kind of grace that like a prayer circle opens up to let one more person in.
Yes.
Instinctual, automatic, undiscussed.
And then she will, as a gesture, like it's a thank you, but it's a gesture to the machine that it did a correct thing rather than actual gratitude.
Yes.
She'll run her fingers gently over the haptic control with no desire to make it do anything, but just to sort of acknowledge its acceptance.
In that just sort of like that kind of like vaguely praising, lazy, undefined way, you run your fingers on it and the table arches like a cat's back before straightening back out.
So I'm remembering a thing from prior to stream campaign that I don't think Bethany was ever told, so she doesn't know it. So I'm gonna let that moment go.
Oh.
Nobody told Bethany about that, so she can't have complicated feelings. Yeah. So that done, she will go back to the pool. She's still again, moving very leisurely, very like she wants to go like pet that claw-footed tub. So that's a pretty thing. And just gently like let her fingers run over that too, and eventually wander back to the pool again. Just sort of like wash herself down, like not a full plunge, but like wash herself down again in the Metropolis metal a little bit, like just her hands face a little bit, as sort of like keeping more of that with her, and then she will gather her things and make ready to leave.
Okay. As it seems like you're getting ready to leave, the other Bethany, the other thing, we'll call it the other thing for now. It's a very quiet, peaceful place. And so when you hear the other Bethany open her mouth, you can kind of get that I can't hear it, but I can hear it sense. And so she opens her mouth to speak, pauses for a moment to let you know she is going to speak, and then says, when we were whole, this was the palace of our dreams. This was our paradise away from Metropolis. A place that was always with us no matter what world we strode on or what we were doing at the time. We could always close our eyes and cast our mind out and away to this place and enjoy the luxuries and the comforts of a home we know.
Bethany is going to reach to touch her. It's incredibly gentle. It's again slow, sort of like with the horse to broadcast, but if she lets her, Bethany will cup her cheek, say, sorry, I'm working out the address, but it's she'll just cup her cheek and say, it's like with the attitude of, oh, you poor thing, almost. But she's just like, don't worry, I will make us whole again. And then she goes to leave.
That's a bless your heart right there.
It's meant as a kindness, but it's not.
Okay. When you do that, she kind of gives you a look, and like the kind of the lazy sort of like, you know, live life in a hammock vibe of her starts to fade. And as you get up to leave, she also does. Like not aggressively, once again, very polite, but definitely is like, time for me to leave too, apparently. So she gets up and she walks a different way to the front. But she does meet you at the front. And
Bethany,
there are
quizzical little look when she goes to leave, but doesn't stop her. Okay.
There are two steeds here. There is one that is the dream of a reality-shattering angel lover given a bestial form that is yours. And the other one is a mutilated, skinned, cybernetically altered hell beast with exposed muscles and organs and big slabs of smoked glass riveted and stapled onto its flesh, and underneath the bellows of its ribcage you can see a crawling black worm. And when it opens its mouth, its shark-like teeth are in there, and you recognize the glowing yellow eyes. And this creature has been put through the Azadeva process, the Osgul process.
Mm-hmm.
And so when this other Bethany found herself here and imagined herself a companion, she imagined herself an Osgul she could ride.
Hmm. Oh, she gets a pitying look. like the first thing was meant way more as a kindness. If you want to bless your heart out of Bethany, it's right now. And so she gets that just terribly pitying look, and Bethany goes to stroke her own horse and looks at the other one with a gentle curiosity, not the same inspection that she did to her own bestial steed, but with a quiet consideration, the same way she looked at Sophia when she asked her, "Would you want me to change you back again?"
Okay.
He is with her eyes asking the horse.
And the horse's eyes are too terrified to answer. The horse's eyes are the eyes of a woman working at a dress store with her shoulders being grabbed and shaken by an angry man. It is Mrs. Westsmith begging you to stop antagonizing him with her eyes.
All right, that's it, because she was gonna let it go. No, there's a Sophia horse, and so
and the other one pulls themselves up onto the horse, and you notice that they do it by jamming their foot in between glass and body, and in an act of clearly deliberate cruelty, levering herself up as if it was a stirrup. And she says in this cold, glacial voice that is still yours but has gone through a very different life, says, "Remember that I tried. We could have shared this."
Don't you want to be whole?
Do either of us even know what that word means?
I'm trying to find out.
And after you eat the whole world and everything else in it, and your precious angel and everything else in her, you are still going to be hungry.
I will be hungry forever, but I aim to be whole and hungry. I'll never be broken apart into little pieces and satiated.
You'll have to kill me for my pieces.
Should we do this now or later?
And her face like ignites in expression. She goes, "Oh, no, later. You can't hurt me here. I can't hurt you here. This is a dream. We're fine." Like, all of a sudden, she's a gossiper. All of a sudden, she's gossiping over martinis.
Fantastic.
And she goes, no. I'm going to kill you in Las Vegas.
Oh, good luck, dear.
Mwah. And she blows you a kiss and begins to ride off on her Osgul horse.
Yeah. Great. Now we get a list.
All right. Are you content?
Yes.
All right.
So.
Yeah, let's talk about this, Clara.
Yes. I think what Clara does is when she sees that he is getting close, she shifts herself to come around Marie, so she's behind Marie and he can look her in the eyes. But she keeps one leg draped over his, so she's kind of trapping both of them, and she keeps her hand on his side, but she is directly looking at him, and she's guiding the whole motion with her body as much more than she has been with her words. Now it is it's a trio-led partner dance, kind of, in these last moments, and she looks directly at him and goes, "Come for me."
I need you to roll plus soul.
Sure. Oh, 14 again. Oh, those 11s are killing me.
It's okay.
It's fine, but 14.
He does. Or maybe with you. It is clear that he is not willing to make it an act of submission. But he is willing to say, this is the right time for this to happen. Like, there's a lot of power dynamic stuff in the body language. And so he does. The cost of that 14, that yes but of a middle road is the way, might be the way black, not rot, but oxidizing trails trace up Marie from between her legs and down her thighs and up her body.
And
she feels it.
The oxidizing trails, can I tell if this is in the illusion or if it's the truth and Marie, even though she's feeling it, she's not seeing it? Is this physically on her illusion body? Or is this Clara seeing beyond?
It is there on both levels, clearly, but it is also visible in the illusion. Or in the fractured illusion that, like, an entire evening of deliberate sex magic,
Yes.
It's pretty thin right now. But
does Clara manage to get any power from him?
No. But what the look of that oxidizing, that rotten, disgusting thing that is already beginning to kill Marie, shutting down her internal organs and filling her body cavity with disintegrated fluids and liquefying kidneys and her diaphragm falling out into her bowel as she slowly chokes to death inside her rotting lungs, is the thing that you realize is that looks the way West Smith tastes. whatever George is, whoever George is, he is empowered by the same endless cruelty that Westsmith was. And he is smiling at you. And you can hear the words that have been said in your head more than once. Meaningless cruelty is the truest act of power.
I'm gonna roll to keep it together.
Okay.
Because Clara wants to be an actress and does not want to let her incredible anger that he hurt her prize on her face for a few minutes. All right.
How well has Matthew taught Clara conceal, don't feel?
Yeah, she's trying real hard, and I do not know if I made it because that's only an 8, and I don't know what keep. Oh no!
Keep it together is off willpower,
isn't it? Is it willpower? It's not coolness.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm fucked. All right. Well. Yeah, she doesn't. So she does not keep it together. Wow, we're all batting 1,000 on keeping our shit together tonight. Great.
I think that Clara is going to lose 2 stability and suffer a not life-changing but significant mental trauma. As the thing that haunts you is 2 things, and we're actually gonna we're gonna talk about it, and then we're gonna re-describe something that we had an experience before the stream because Kate mentioned it, and so I want to refresh people as to what happened. And these are the things that we will end the night on, I think, because then for the next game I want everybody to come smashing together fresh out of their various clusterfucks. The thing that Clara realizes that is going to haunt her and has damaged her on some level is the fact that that poison was meant for her. And the other thing that reminds you is the time when you accidentally rode an Osgul's dream. And you went through the emotional and physical torture of being converted from an Azadeva to an Osgul. And the feeling of being put on a Metropolitan steel table that shifted to match your body. And how a human that looked somehow familiar but not reached out and pulled blades out of nowhere and cut you open. And that invasive, terrifying feeling, that coldness, that rot, that invasion of that moment comes crashing back to you. And the thing that you realize is that they have the same look on their face. That same, I do what I want, smile.
She can't keep her shit together. She scrambles backwards off of him, off of poor dying Marie, and crawls across the stage to where her purse was behind her throne, and with shaking hands, and pulls her gun out of her purse and turns the gun on him and goes, "Get out, and if I see you again, if I ever see you again, I will kill you. I will shoot you, and I will keep shooting you until you never move again. Get out, get out, get out." And she is screaming it. And if he doesn't start moving, she's going to start shooting the gun.
He stands up, calm as a cute, like completely calm and put together, not infuriating enough, not even in like post-orgasm like headspace, just as if that was a mechanical function that had no bearing on his brain chemistry. And he stands up and he picks up the suit and he picks up a few, like just drapes it over his arms like it was a chain, like it was at a tailor shop. And he starts to walk out the door, turns his back on you and everything.
She keeps the gun pointed at his back and crawls across the stage and cradles whatever is left of Marie. If the girl is still even conscious at all, she'll pet her hair until she dies. And just kind of hugs and rocks her to sleep to death and just sits there sobbing.
Because this is a terrible world, she does live long enough for you to comfort her. In a better world, in a better illusion, she would have died much faster, but we are here.
Yeah.
And so it takes her another 10 or 15 minutes to die, because it seems like whatever poison that was put in her, or corruption or rot or expression of meaningless cruelty, it seems like it knew exactly how much of her to rot to guarantee death, but make it take far too long.
Because Clara had activated this
forbidden inspiration.
This is fucking great. Yeah, forbidden inspiration, and she's been seeing the truth of things. Can I ask for the narration that like Clara looks at Marie enough to realize that there is no saving this girl?
Absolutely, no question.
Yeah, because she's seen the rot. You described it. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyone who looks at her is just like, she's dead. Maybe I don't know why she's dead, but she's dead.
In that case, when she's gasping and it's like only a few minutes into Clara petting her hair and going, this is unfair and this world is cruel, and whatever comes next, I promise it will be better to you. But the best thing I can do for you is this. And then Clara shoots her through the head and puts her out of her misery.
Okay.
And will probably spend the night using all of her power and acting skills and everything to explain this to the cops and pin it on the guy.
We will handle that next game.
Yeah,
cool. That is more like logistic shenanigans that I have a brain for right now.
Absolutely, and it's late, but yes. So Clara's not going to let her suffer that long.
No. The thing that we will end the night on, and the thing that gives Clara a complicated sense of both peace and horror, is when you shoot her in the head, death is instant, and is so in this state, transfixed by horror and trauma and sex and power and losing yourself in your art. You are in this moment and you are as enlightened in this terrible, terrible instant as Clara has ever been. And so you watch Marie's soul drift out of her body, and some unknowable, unseen piece of the machine of reality fold her away to an unknown fate. But you can see for that brief moment something draw her soul into itself. And no one has ever been so dead to you as Marie is right now. That is the most dead person you have ever seen. And I think we will leave it there with Clara staring horrified at a place where someone she loved used to live. All right.
Ooh.
Let's give us a second, then let's all come back and talk about that, huh?
Yeah.
Cool.
So, hi everybody.
Hi, good times.
Yeah.
That was a very good, intense game. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Also, oh God, Clara.
Yeah. Clara.
It's one of the issues of like when we're doing this not in person. I want to just like give people hugs.
Yeah.
I'm like, too far, no hug.
I don't know how we're gonna do it. I don't know if we can do it, but like I do want to have like the last couple games in person. Like I want to go to the Cathedral of Learning in Pittsburgh and I want to record there.
Yeah.
That's very far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have no car.
Oh.
That's a solvable problem.
But yeah, that was cool.
Yeah.
That was good. It was,
yeah.
I also am glad that Sarah did not have that happen to her.
Yes.
I know that's an unfair, an unkind thing to think, but I'm like, glad that was not Clara. Poor Clara.
Yeah.
Big fidelity, like almost trying to be loyal to Matthew, saved her life.
Yeah.
But yes, thank you for another very good game, Ben.
That was awesome.
This was great. Having to deal with us splitting the party and then doing it so well, I really appreciate.
Yeah.
Yes, but that is why I stopped us. That is why I stopped us at that point though. It was just like no, this needs time.
Yeah.
No, it was great. No, it was lovely.
Yeah.
It is also pretty late, so I do need to skedaddle.
Yes.
Oh
all right.
gosh, it is. Yeah.
That's
all right, my friends.
All right, folks. Thanks for watching. We really appreciate it. So join the Discord if you haven't.
Thank you so much, Curtis.
Curtis is awesome. We're so much thankful for him. I'm sure he's made us look absolutely fantastic as he always does.
Yeah.
And we will see you soon. Bye.
Yep. Bye everybody.